Imagine if you could retire in just 15 years and make $187,000 in passive, tax free income every single year for the rest of your life. My name is Justin Van Riper with Real Estate Investing STL, and I'm going to be going over that strategy with you today. So, how does it work? So, you're going to look for an already rented or rent ready property. We don't want ones that are going to need a bunch of work because that becomes a lot more active and not passive. So we want ones that are either rent ready or they're already rented. Then you're going to purchase the property with a 15-year mortgage on it. You're going to purchase one property per year for 15 years. So year one, you'll purchase a property. Year two, you'll purchase another property. Year three, you'll purchase one more, and you keep going all the way for 15 years. So you're going to repeat that every single year for 15 years. You're just simply going to buy one property. That's it, just one. So what are we going to look for in these properties? So the property must cash flow or at least break even. So the 1% rule is a good guide, and that simply means that the rent of the property should be at least 1% of the purchase price. So for instance, if you have a property that's turnkey and it's selling for $150,000, it should be able to rent for at least 1%, which is $1,500 a month or more. If it can rent for $1,700 or $1,900, that's even better. But we want all these properties to at least follow the 1% rule. You also don't want properties that are going to be in a war zone. So war zones are very rough areas. They're class D or F neighborhoods that have a lot of crime, and you're going to get very poor tenants in those areas. You also want to look for an area that's going to have a good chance of appreciating. So another component of that, you don't want the really rough areas, but you also don't want properties that are going to be in, say, a class A neighborhood for a $500,000 house, because once again, if we're following that 1% rule, that means that house would have to rent for $5,000 a month or more, and typically that's not going to be the case. So we also want to stay away from class A. So we want to stay kind of right in the middle. We're looking for kind of the B and C areas. So how are we going to get guaranteed rent? This is a really cool program. Section 8 is a massive government-backed organization that guarantees that they're going to pay their rent. So you don't have to rely upon a tenant to pay it, because Section 8 will pay it on their behalf. Section 8 helps individuals with their rent payment, and a lot of times they will actually pay 100% of the tenant's rent, and that goes directly to you. And also, there are many, many cases where they will pay more than what a market tenant would pay as well. So not only are you getting guaranteed money from the government, but oftentimes it's more than what you would get from just a normal market tenant. This strategy is also, it's more applicable for, say class C areas, where the tenants might not be quite as reliable. If you're in, a class B area, you don't typically have to worry as much about getting lower quality tenants. And so you could always go with a market tenant if you, choose at that point, if you're in, a class B area. So I want to give you a quick example of what this actually looks like. So this is a real property that we sold here in the St. Louis area. The sales price on this property was $130,000, and it was rented with a Section 8 tenant in place for $1,700 a month. So what does that look like from a rental projection? So we take the gross rent, and we're subtracting out management, property management, we're subtracting out maintenance and vacancies, taxes, insurance, and the estimated mortgage payment. When we take all of that into account, we're still left with a net operating income of a little over $3,100 for the year. But there's also three other ways that you can essentially get income from these rental properties. Most people think of just the cash flow, which is the net operating income, but we also can take into consideration the depreciation deduction. So you're able to deduct the value of the property, not the land. So you have to subtract the value of the land, but typically the value of property, the land or the property is way more valuable than the land's going to be. So you take the value of the actual property minus the land, and then you divide that by 27 and a half years. So that's the straight line depreciation. So we take that deduction, and then we also can count on the property to appreciate. So for a very, very long period of time, real estate has appreciated anywhere from 3 to 5%. On some years, it's drastically higher than that, but long term, we can account for about 4% appreciation. So we have a appreciation that we're getting on the property as well just by owning it for 1 year. The mortgage pay down, so you're paying down that mortgage. Remember, we're getting a 15-year mortgage for this particular strategy so we can pay it off quicker. And you will pay down that mortgage a little over $4,000 in year one. And that's just for year one. The later years, you're going to be paying a larger portion of that mortgage down. That's just the way that the amortization works on these loans, is that you pay the most interest up, at the beginning of the loan. And then when you get towards the end, you're paying a lot more principal. So that number, that's a little over $4,000, that number is going to go up every single year. But let's just take year one numbers for it right now. So once we add the depreciation, the appreciation, and the mortgage pay down to the net operating income, our total income for this property is $16,725. So what kind of ROI, return on investment, can you expect from a property like this? So typically what you're going to need is a 20% down payment on these turnkey houses. So for the example property that I just gave, that would be 20% down on a $130,000 purchase would be $26,000. So it'd be a down payment of $26,000. So in that first year, remember that your total income was $16,725. So simply taking the total income and dividing it by your investment, which was the down payment of $26,000, that means your ROI, your return on investment, was 64%. So that easily going to beat any retirement account returns. And you also have your investment backed by a tangible asset in the property. So I'm sure all this sounds great, but how do you actually retire in 15 years from this strategy? So you will own this property free and clear in 15 years. So remember, we got a 15-year note on it, a 15-year mortgage. So you're going to own it free and clear in only 15 years. So with that average appreciation rate of 4%, that property for $130,000, it's now worth a little over $234,000. So what you can do now, you have a free and clear property that's worth $234,000. You can do a cash out refinance for up to 80% of what it's worth, the loan to value or LTV. So 80% of that $234,000, that puts $187,298 directly into your pocket. And the great thing about this is because it's a loan, it is these proceeds that you're getting, even though you're getting cash, or a wire sent directly to you, it's going directly into your bank account. That $187,000 is not taxable. So that's a really, really cool thing because it's, technically a loan. So it's not taxable, which is really, really, it's a huge bonus there. So continuing on with the strategy is that if you buy just one property every year for those 15 years, you'll have a new property to refinance every single year. So remember at the beginning, I spoke about buying one property in year one, buying another property in year two, year three, year four, so forth for 15 years. So you're going to eventually have 15 properties in 15 years. You're going to buy just one property, just a single property every year. And then if you do it in that way, you're going to have a new property that you get to refinance each and every year forever. So for that example property that I gave, that's going to give you over $187,000 per year, every single year, that is tax free. So obviously these numbers can change too if you have, properties that are a little higher in value. So if you had, say, a $200,000 property that you purchased, these numbers are going to get even higher. I just gave kind of a lower end example, but you could go with a $200,000 property that you're going to be able to get a lot more money that's going to come to you, completely tax free. So, cool thing, I mean, you get to keep this asset forever. So you can continue to collect your cash out refi proceeds year after year after year. And then you can even pass these properties on to your kids and grandkids after you're done using them. So, maybe it's you've got plenty of money in your retirement account, and you just want to be able to provide a blessing to your kids or grandkids. You can give them to them while you're still alive. You could also just put it in your will that you're going to deed the properties to your kids or your grandkids after you die. But imagine leaving your kids with a tax-free income of $187,000 every single year. Remember, if you don't sell these properties, you can do this till eternity. You can keep making those proceeds. And over time, that number is going to continue to go up. Remember, we have properties that appreciate at about 4% per year. So if we're talking 30 years from now, these properties are going to be worth even more. So when I put the $187,000 number, that's going to increase. It's going to increase by 4% every single year. So that's just, what you would be getting basically on the first refi. But yeah, just take a second to imagine what that would look like to be able to leave your kids with $187,000 in tax-free income every single year for the rest of their lives. So how do we come in play here? What do we provide? So we supply properties that are going to fit this model. So it's something that we are very experienced and very good at doing. We are really good at finding these great deals. We also are really good at analyzing them and walking you through the entire process. We're here to hold your hand throughout the entire thing and help you in any way that we can. We're also very experienced with working with out-of-state investors. So our properties are located in the St. Louis area. And I'm going to get to why that's important here in a second, but we're very experienced working with out-of-state investors. We've worked with many before. So if you are not local to the St. Louis area, that is completely fine. That's not a problem at all. Remember that this is an investment property. It's not a property that you're going to live in. So there's no need for you to actually be local, because we have referrals for everything that you're going to need. So we've got lenders, we have contractors, we have property management companies, insurance, whatever you need, we have referrals to help you out with that. So what are the requirements for working with us? So you must have at least $20,000 per year that you're looking to invest. And that's simply just the down payment. So remember, on the example that I gave earlier, the purchase price was $130,000. So 20% of that was a $26,000 down payment. So you do have to have a down payment, but remember, you're just paying this once per year and you're only doing it for 15 years. And then you're going to reap the benefits of $187,000 or more in tax-free income forever. So you also must be willing to invest in the St. Louis market. And the St. Louis market is great because we can provide some of the best returns in the entire country here. So there's a lot of areas that the 1% rule is not going to work. And you could see the example that I gave before, we actually beat the 1% rule by quite a bit. It was a sales price of $130,000 and a rent of $1,700 a month. So we can provide some incredible returns here in the St. Louis area, and most areas you're just not going to see returns like that. Another requirement is, you can't be a jerk. We're going to work with you on a one-on-one basis, so we want people that are easy to work with, that value our expertise and being able to provide them with properties. Also, if you are unable to invest, say, the yearly minimum amount, so if you're thinking, I don't have $20,000 per year to invest, we do have other options for you as well. So I'm going to cover that here in a second. But if you or someone you know, if you meet the requirements that I had on the last page, then we can get you started ASAP. We can do all this very quickly. There have been times where I've had an initial call with a potential buyer, and they have their first property under contract within a couple days. Like, it's literally can be that quick. So we can get you started very quickly. So if you're interested in this, text 15-year retirement to 314-470-1917. Now, I mentioned before, if you don't meet those requirements, so if you don't have at least $20,000 a year to invest, but you're still interested in working with us, we do have another option. And I'm not going to go into too much detail on that right now, but I have a whole nother training video on that. So go ahead and text no money down to 314-470-1917. I'm sorry, I just realized that doesn't have, it's 1917. So 314-470-1917. So either text 15-year retirement or text no money down to that number if you are interested. And then we can always schedule a time to jump on a quick call. So here's a quick summary. You can retire in just 15 years and make $187,000 in passive tax-free money every year for the rest of your life, and even the rest of your kids' life if you want to pass the properties along to them. You can provide your kids or grandkids with an excellent source of income for their entire lives. You can also do this by investing passively, and we provide everything that you need. We provide the properties, the lenders, the property management company, and anything else that you may need. So I'm going to pull this up again with the next steps. So if you are interested, go ahead and text 15-year retirement to 314-470-1917. If you are still interested in investing, but you don't have $20,000 per year to invest, then go ahead and text no money down to that same number. It's 314-470-1917. Thank you guys, and I look forward to working with you.